Good morning. We welcome you all to the lush green campus of KSCSTE Kerala Forest Research Institute PG, which is located adjacent to PG Varani Wildlife Sanctuary. Today, we are here for the one-day state-level workshop on the theme Forests for Water, Fostering Prosperity and Peace, organized as a part of World Water Day. This is a collaborative program of KSCSTE Kerala Forest Research Institute, Kerala State Council of Science, Technology and Environment, and Government Engineering College Thrissur, and is sponsored by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. I request our esteemed guests, Professor K.P. Sudheer, Dr. N. Krishnakumar, Dr. Seena P., Dr. P. Harinarayanan, and Dr. T.V. Sajeev to come over to the dais for the inaugural session.
Now we invite Dr. T.V. Sajeev, Chief Scientist and Registrar in charge of KFRI, for the welcome address.
Respected dignitaries on and off the dais, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a very wonderful day today, celebrating the World Water Day. Established in 1992 by the United Nations, the celebrations every year used to have their own campaign note and a slogan. This year, we are going to celebrate water on the theme Water and Peace. It's a very important slogan at this point of time. We will never ever believe that the world will go into war as it is happening nowadays. So peace is something very dear to us, and we are going to celebrate this day in that particular slogan. And the Kerala Forest Research Institute, in collaboration with the Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment, has brought in very important people who are going to deliberate with us on water. And my job is to welcome them. On dais, we have the ex-officio Principal Secretary of the Science and Technology Department, and the Executive Vice President of Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment, Professor Dr. K.P. Sudheer. He is also the Director in charge of Kerala Forest Research Institute and also the Institute for Climate Change Studies. With your permission, I invite Dr. Professor K.P. Sudheer for this particular function. On dais with us is a very well-known figure in forestry, Dr. Krishnakumar IFS, who was the head of Forest Force of Tamil Nadu. He is currently the chairman of the State Environment Impact Assessment Authority, Tamil Nadu. And we are proud to have him as the chairman of the Research Council of KSRI. He was also the former director of Institute of Forest Deliveries and Tree Breeding, Coimbatore, and he was also the head of the Aringa and Zoological Park, India. With immense happiness, I welcome Dr. Krishnan to this particular event. Dr. Harinarayanan, my good friend, started off his career in KFRI. And interestingly, he is a person who is specialized in geology, not just geology, but hydrogeology. And Dr. Harinarayanan will be giving us a brief about this particular event. With immense happiness, I welcome Dr. On dais we have Dr. Seena P., Professor, Head of the Department of Civil Engineering, Government Engineering College, Thrissur. It was so interesting to see that our students and faculty of the Thrissur Engineering College opted to come over to KFRI to participate in this particular event. So welcome, madam, to this particular event. We have distinguished members down there, sitting there, and we have Dr. E.J. James. For a long time, he had been the director of one of the prestigious institutions under the Kerala State Council, the Center for Water Resources Development and Management. And he is Emeritus Professor, Director, Research and Consultancy at Karunya University, Tamil Nadu right now. And he had been operating in different capacities as Director of Water Institute, Director School of Civil Engineering, Director Interdisciplinary Research, Dean Research, Dean School of Agriculture Biosciences, Prof, Chancellor and Vice Chancellor. With immense happiness, I welcome you, sir, to this particular event. We have with us Dr. Sumit Sen, who will be delivering a keynote address. He is professor at the Department of Hydrology and the head of the Center for Excellence in Disaster Mitigation and Management, IIT Roorkee, and program lead for research in Australia-India Water Center. With a human happiness, we would like to hear about you, sir. Welcome to the meeting. We are waiting for Dr. Pramod G. Krishnan, who is the Additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, Kerala Forest Department. He will be joining us shortly. And he is a person who is currently in service and a person who has been highly involved in some of the drastic changes which happened in the Forest Department. Like, for example, the establishment of the Periyar Tiger Foundation. It was interesting, long back, we used to have the Forest Department vehicle in front of our secretariat with all the papers ready, signed by the Principal Chief Conservator. And he had a process in which a foundation was started, and the money which is got by tourism was directly used by the department to conservation activities in Periyar. So what happened later is history. Now when we hear about water crisis, human-wildlife conflicts across Kerala, there is one landscape which is not touched by human-wildlife conflict, and that remains to be the Periyar Tiger Reserve. We expect that Dr. Pramod G. Krishnan will be joining us shortly. We also have delegates coming from the Council, from the Center for Water Resource Development Management, from the Pollution Control Board, from Soil and Water Conservation Department. I invite all of you to this particular event. Welcome all to the students of Thrissur Engineering College, the faculties from the Thrissur Engineering College, the staff of KFRI, the research scholars of KFRI. Welcome you all. Now personally, this day is going to be very interesting in the sense that we are facing a lot of issues regarding hydrology. I personally will be sitting through all the sessions, trying to look out answers for very interesting questions. Like, for example, has the hydrology of the forest changed in a drastic way after the 2018 and 19 floods which we had in Kerala? Is the forest drying out? And is the drying up of the forest a factor for increased human-wildlife conflicts over there? When I was in school, I learned that the forest gives us water. But we have come to a situation where we are now taking water from the non-forest areas into the forest for the wild animals to survive. So we are in crisis, and I expect that this deliberations over here will lead to us to informed decision making. Once again, welcome you all to this interesting meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we invite Dr. P. Harinarayanan, Senior Principal Scientist at KSCSTE, to brief about the program.
A very good morning to one and all. Most respected President of the function and Executive Vice President of KSCSTE, Professor K.P. Sudheer. The Chief Guest of the day, Professor Dr. Krishnakumar sir. Other dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Sajeev, Dr. Zeena madam, and distinguished guests of the dais, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. Water Day is actually celebrated every year on 22nd March since 1993. And every year we have a slogan. And this year, of course, we have a slogan that basically it is related to peace. How peace can be brought using water. So that is a motto behind this workshop, Water for Peace. which is actually pointing to the need for better water security, sustainable agriculture practices, agriculture production, and environmental integrity. And how to bring peace, that is the most important thing. Whether it is from the local level, from the household to the international level, that is the thing what we have to discuss today. And today at KFRI, when we are celebrating this Water Day, we are going to discuss on the forest for water, fostering prosperity and peace. The last 3 days actually I was, as a part of the project, I was in Attapadi area. I had seen that water has become scarce in many of these settlements, and they were reporting that they have not taken the crop this last year because there was a change in rain pattern. They had never had a rain during April, May, so they didn't start the cultivation. So last 1 year just left that land free. And most of the tribes are actually situated inside the forest. Just imagine the importance of water from that point of view, how tribes have been affected inside the forest when there is a small scarcity of rain or changing pattern of rain. Now, today actually we have the joint program organized with KSCST. We have a environmental information awareness and capacity building program. There is an NVIS center. Every state has got an NVIS hub or EACPM, what we call now. And as per the Government of India direction, we have a program called Mission Mission Lifestyle for Environment. As part of the program, we have actually jointly organizing this program with KFRI and Government Engineering College, Thrissur. And following this inaugural session, we have a keynote address by 3 eminent scientists like Dr. James sir is there, Dr. Sumit Sen is there, and our own additional peace conservator of forest, Pramod G, Krishnan sir is there, and of course Sudheer sir is also there. Following which, we will be having a panel discussion on the subject area where Dr. Sajeev has raised few questions actually, which is very important as far as we are concerned. We have seen that a man-animal conflict is one of the biggest issues right from the north in Kasaragod to Toronto. Kasaragod, which earlier used to tell where we don't have elephants, had more than 38 elephants at a time now, most of the time. Though there is a everywhere else you can see now hanging fencing, each and every corner you can see. Now, just like Attapadi, we are also having in Kasaragod now. We never had it. So this is the reason actually, as mentioned by Dr. Sajeev, there is scarcity of water in Karnataka and there is enough water down near Kasaragod. So everything is coming to this region. So we have to discuss this one. Also with this actually, we will be having a wonderful program, and at the end of this day, we will be having some answers to the questions, what has to be done in the forest, how important is the water in the forest, just which is keeping our rivers always flowing even during the lean periods. So water in the forest is very important as far as to keep peace. If there is no water, there will be unrest, there will be conflicts right from the household to the international level. So we should think about, and this is a day where we can start awareness on conservation of water and use of water in a sustainable manner. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We invite Professor K.P. Sudheer, Executive Vice President of KSCSTE and Director in charge of KFRI for the Presidential Address.
Dr. Krishnakumar, the Chief Guest of the day, my colleagues Dr. Harinarayanan, Dr. Sajeev, Dr. Sina, Dr. James, Professor Sumit, other members from different organizations of Kerala State, my dear students from Thrissur Engineering College, colleagues from KFRI, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to all of you. In fact, this day celebrations, which is conceived by United Nations on a regular basis, has been in practice for quite long. We had, I guess, World Happiness Day on 2 days back. I don't know how many of you celebrated that. And yesterday was the day for forests. We forgot to celebrate it. But then today becomes World Water Day. And subsequently there are other day celebrations coming on. We have been celebrating it over I think quite a number of years, probably over 30 years. And I personally feel like Dr. James would have celebrated all the years since its beginning. Now the question is, what have we learned in all these day celebrations? We keep celebrating it every year. And have we learned from the experiences of whatever be the issues related to water? And have we tried to give solutions to it or to some level? It's an open question. I don't want to give any answer to that, or I don't expect any answer from any of you for that. Primarily, I guess these day celebrations are for creating awareness about the importance of the concept behind it. Just focus on the water now. Water, everyone knows, as I think the previous speakers said, everyone knows that it's a precious resource. And in Kerala, we have never realized that it is going to be a scarce resource. We used to have abundant amount of water for all our purposes, and we never cared for conserving it. But slowly we started realizing that water is also becoming very scarce, and then we need to have conservative measures. So what happens regularly is, you get monsoon. Normally, until 2018 it was probably, except for 2016 was a dry year, but then otherwise we were getting normal rainfall every year. We used to have reservoirs completely full. We manage with that. Northeast monsoon comes, and then you get enough water for managing for the next 2 months. But when the erratic nature of the rainfall started, or the pattern of rainfall got shifted, the availability of water, conserved amount of water was becoming not sufficient for our requirement, meeting our requirement. That is when we started thinking about, well, water is precious. But every year in the month of March and April, it was not in February earlier, in the month of March and April, we used to have some water stress. Then everybody will wake up and start campaigning for water conservation, and every drop is precious. There will be different brochures given by government agencies, organizations and all. And the moment we start getting the first shower in the month of June or last week of May, we forget about what has happened in the last 2 months. And we never come back and think about, was there any shortage of water in the last 2 months or not? Because we were able to manage somehow. Now, it's a situation for us that this kind of management is not going to help us for future in a sustainable way. You would have realized it in the last year, 2023. In 2023, we have received monsoon rainfall was 34% deficit as per the IMD calculations in Kerala. So naturally, our reservoirs were not full to the extent what we expected. And we were actually in a situation that if northeast monsoon was not sufficient enough to cater to the filling up of the reservoirs, Kerala is actually blessed. We get 2 rainfall seasons. The southwest monsoon as well as northwest monsoon, unlike other states. So had we not received good amount of rainfall during the northeast monsoon, we would have been in real trouble. I guess World Water Day celebration would have been without any water for us. But fortunately, we got sufficient amount of northeastern monsoon and our reservoirs got filled up sufficiently enough. But this happened primarily on the southern parts of Kerala. And northeastern monsoon generally we receive in the southern parts of Kerala. So all our southern reservoirs are full, or to some extent full, but northern side is still having a lot of issues. If you look at Malambuzha, which is close to us, or even BG, last year Malambuzha dam was 40% full by end of northeast monsoon, which was sufficient enough to cater to the requirement for 2 months or 3 months before the next monsoon season. But this year it has fallen down to 19%, which is very, very alarming. That means northeast monsoon was not very good in this region. So we anticipate that there is going to be a deficit situation for water on northern side of Kerala, starting from Palakkad and Trichy district in this year. Probably in the southern part it may not be. But all these statistics are known to us every time. We have not actually started practicing the conservation measures. Water conservation actually should happen or start from household is what I would say. Harinarayanan and Sajeev mentioned about Karnataka's issue. Karnataka's deficit was 18% in monsoon season last year. But currently what is happening in Karnataka, specifically you might have read in newspaper, Bangalore. There is no water. Water bottles are not kept in the shops now because they do not have enough supply. The pumped storage or the tanker water supply to different household items or household blocks or even apartments, complexes and all, they started charging 5 to 6 times now because water has become so precious. Now, where people used to lavishly use the water without having any control, now they are given 2 buckets of water or 3 buckets of water, still they are managing it without any problem. There is a theory, we call it as, when we were students, we call it as scholarship theory. When I was a master's student, my scholarship was 1800 rupees. We lived like kings. 1800 rupees was sufficient enough for our good living. We used to pay our fees, we used to pay our mess dues, we used to buy books and all the required items for that. When we went for PhD, it got increased to 2400 for 1 year and it got to 3200 for another 3 years. We were living like a king. We were able to manage with that. So, when it comes to job, it becomes double of what you have been earning. Your responsibilities increase, still we are able to manage. So what happens is, when you are given a shortage situation, you will be able to manage. That's what the humans, the adaptability is. Now the question is, without realizing what is going to be in future for us, if we start utilizing the resources, we are going to be in trouble. Abundance is not going to be the case anymore. You have to be very careful in utilizing your water availability. Government of Kerala has seriously looked into all these issues. I was just talking to Dr. James. Government of Kerala is planning to set up a committee primarily to look into how do we manage the water deficit situation in future. Probably do we require more interventions in the 44 rivers. If you look at northern part of Kerala, there are very limited interventions in the rivers. So, do we really require more interventions in 44 rivers for meeting the required demand? Now, why is this question coming? The question is coming because if you look at the statistics again, your average rainfall which is received in a year has not changed much over a longer period of time. We have conducted a study for different two periods of 30 years, 1970 to 2000. I'm sorry, 1970 to 2000 and 2000 to 2020. I mean, 30 years of period in two seasons, two time periods. And we found that the average rainfall across the country is more or less the same. Not only in Kerala, Kerala also is the same. Average rainfall. So every time when we look at the statistics, we say mean aerial rainfall or normal rainfall, and the receipt of rainfall is annual rainfall is more or less the same. Now the question is, what is the problem? If your average rainfall is same, then what is the problem? Why are you facing deficits? We looked at another statistics. We looked at the number of rainy days. Earlier it used to be 50 to 60 days of rainfall which could be counted, now it has shrunken to 20 to 25. What does it mean? Your volume remaining same, average remaining same means your volume remaining same. The number of days in which these volumes have been received are shrinking. So that only implies that your intensity of rainfall is increasing, your extreme events are increasing. And when there is extreme events, you don't get enough infiltration opportunity time for penetration, and your groundwater don't get replenished in the way it used to be earlier. Now the only option you have is conservation measures, because you get enough water, but you don't have enough conservation measures for storing this water for future use. And that is where we have started thinking about, do we need more interventions in this changed climate change scenario, or in the changed rainfall pattern scenario. There is shift in monsoon pattern, there is shift in onset of monsoon. All these are going to get affected on your the agricultural activities as well. An interesting thing what we also did is, when this IPCC projected for the next 100 years, the climate projections, we also looked at what is going to be impact on Kerala specifically, because IPCC was given on a global scale. We wanted to look at what is going to happen for the Kerala state specifically. We found that your rainfall is going to get increased by around 400 mm. Annual rainfall is going to get increased by 400 mm. But your number of rainy days are going to shrink further. That means you are going to get more and more extreme events. We started thinking about extreme events only after 2018 flood. We were not really worried about flooding situations in Kerala. Now your floods are going to get increased. When your number of rainy days are shrinking down, it also indicates that your dry spells are going to increase. That means your water deficit will be also going to increase. Which all indicates that in the next 100 years as per the analysis, but in future, we are going to face both extremes of rainfall, the drought as well as excess water in a very frequent way. The frequency of it is going to get increased. In addition to it, there is an increase in temperature as well. We have started realizing the increase in temperature in this year, but there is a projection that in the next 100 years, on an average, your maximum temperature is going to go up by 1.7 degrees Celsius. Similarly, your minimum temperature is also going to go up by 1.1 degrees Celsius. So what does it mean? Your minimum temperature is going to go up, your maximum temperature is going to go up. That means your range of temperature is going to go up. It implies that your evapotranspiration demand is also going to go up. Your water demand is also going to go up. All these things are going to affect the forest, the agriculture and other activities which depend on water. So we are actually going to face a critical situation in terms of water, and that is the message which I wanted to give to all of you today. Unless we take care of conserving water and utilization of the water in a very effective way, I don't think we will be able to survive this situation in future. So I would always suggest to all of you that let's be very aware that we are going to face a crisis situation for water. It's not very far that we are going to face the situation what Bangalore is facing now, or any other part of the country is facing now. So let us not come to that situation. If we proactively do some measures and actions, it is not that government policy is what is important for this kind of things, but every individual's responsibility to conserve water. And that should be the take-home message on the World Water Day. Thank you very much and all the best.
Thank you, sir. Now we invite Dr. N. Krishnakumar IFS, former head of Forest Force of Tamil Nadu and chairman of the Research Council of KFRI for the inaugural address.
Dr. Sudheer, Dr. Sajeev, Dr. Harinarayan, Dr. Sina, Dr. Sumit Sen, we have have, thank you. Pramod will be joining us shortly, Dr. James, and Dr. Anita, Dr. Sandeep, Dr. Pavan, all those people who are behind this big poster here and brought us all together. Let me congratulate the KFRI and the KSTC and the Engineering College for having organized this wonderful event here today. I think, as rightly said by speakers before, there is need for tremendous awareness in very many areas, and water definitely is a critical area in which a lot of awareness is needed. Right away, I find people in front of me looking like water starved. I think a bit of smile on all of you will probably prove that you have all had enough water this morning. Yesterday, as rightly said, we celebrated the International Day of Forests, and the idea was forests and innovation, new solutions for a better world. So every year some theme is given, and on that day a lot of deliberation happens. This year again, water for peace, the critical role of water for prosperity and stability is the discussion that's centered for today's discussion. I, for one, with 40 years of experience, can tell you that the snow that we have in the country and the water that we get cannot really all happen if we do not have good forested ecosystems and forested watersheds to take care of. But what really is happening today is a sad scenario where everywhere the quality of water, forests have changed, and therefore the quality of water, the quantity of water in the watersheds have also changed. I have worked in the Nilgiris for a long time, and I know those days, in the Nilgiri ecosystem, you ask any tribal or a native Badaga who happens to be from the Nilgiris, they have very carefully located themselves always below a shola and a grassland. So if there are downs, and the sholas are in the center, if somebody has gone to the Kodaikanal, Nilgiris or Ervikulam, and then their hamlets are always located beneath the shola. In fact, the community there in the Nilgiris and these hill areas know much better about what we talk about: water use efficiency, evaporation, transpiration, storage, water quality, quantity. They knew it much better, and that's how they used to locate their hamlets below. They also ensured, they always used to tell us, don't plant up grasslands, because once the grassland goes, grasslands which are effective sponges, they absorb all the water, let it down into the sholas, and from the shola, through the effective root architecture and the canopy architecture of the shola forest, they are able to intercept all the water and let it down into the hamlets. So sustained water supply used to come to the shola, to the hamlets of the tribals because of their planning. All that they did was locate themselves. We have done a lot of program from 1975 onwards, the Government of India's program on Hill Area Development Program, the Western Ghat Development Program, the Interface Forestry Program, and then of course Social Forestry and other programs. All these programs focus towards watershed improvement. Today we have what are called as micro watersheds. For sake of management units, we have the macro watersheds, we have the mini watersheds. If these watersheds can be protected, I think even people sitting here are under some catchment. So we are all under some catchment hydrology that influences us. But we just do not know what is really happening in this catchment, and that is where problems happen. We have seen that wherever the forests are good, a catchment with 100% forest, there is no problem at all. A catchment with 50% forest has its own problem of erosion and has its own problem of conflicts, etc. A catchment that has no forest at all, which has been totally changed into townships, have its own problems. Now, of course, forests also have the other problems of forest fires and pressures. There are innumerable forest pressures, grazing, etc., which is changing the quality of the water. When we were writing some projects on rejuvenation of rivers in India, we found that today all the floodplains of the rivers are totally disrupted because there are tremendous tree declines in the floodplains, and what used to, the floodplains, tree compositions, the structures have all changed. And when such tree structures, tree declines happen, the quality of water, the quantity of water through the root systems are definitely going to decrease. Now the other serious problem that we are facing is pollution. I remember going up to US or even today, we all need to, there used to be a very unwritten agreement that the people living in the upper catchment areas are supposed to take care of the water bodies and the catchment itself so that the people below get good water. It is also written understanding that the people below should support the upper catchment through funds or finance or investments so that they have a mutual support for conservation. The problem, as rightly said by Dr. Sudheer, is that we have forgotten to understand each other's needs as far as water is concerned. Water has become nobody's issues. But the community, 100 years before, knew how to conserve, how to govern water better. I do not know over civilization how we have lost track of conservation models. And see, that's how even those days the Cholas, the Pandyas, those big kings knew how to conserve water. Even today, some of the dams constructed by them are the best water conservation models. The small ponds, the lakes, and then the airies, the kulams, pond, all those things are now gone. Because the reason is, I know that as a chairman of the Environmental Impact Assessment Authority, where there were ponds, individual houses came. Where individual houses are there, today apartments have come. So there are apartments when they do not know where to get the water from. All the apartments, the Residents Association are only looking for water. Then comes the question of sewage disposal. They just do not know where it is. They dispose the sewage also is let into some water systems, some water bodies or rivers, polluting the whole thing. So what is really required today, as told here by the speakers, is some sort of water disciplining. Discipline ourselves for the use of water. No amount of Jal Shakti programs or no amount of course, Government of India, Government of Kerala, all other governments, local governments and local panchayats will tell you that conservation is important, there could be programs, etc. But a lot of things has to emerge from the household. Today, with 70% of the, we all know that it's only just 2% of the world we have freshwater resources, and this freshwater resources is coming either from snow or from forested ecosystems. And 19% of industry, the way industry is growing, they are taking away 19% of the water. 70% of the water is consumed by agriculture. Agriculture itself, we have to probably go in more for organic agriculture and see how best the water use is really scenarios are changed. And of course, 11% is domestic use. If somebody had cared to read this morning's Hindu, there are 2 excellent articles. You should really go through them, and that will probably give you an understanding as what is happening. We all know that we need forests for 2 reasons. One, I always say forest for carbon security, forest for water security, forest for livelihood security, and forest for wood security. These 4 issues are important. Other than that, forests are needed for a number of things. And now today, I think forests are more important for water security. If these forests are not there, probably then the so-called goods and services which we rightfully receive from the forest are lost. And one of the biggest service rendered by forest is water, sustained water supply. Very recently, a study has been made in the Amazonian plains and in many other forests, where they found that once the floodplains are lost, once the tree associations of the floodplains are lost, then probably we lose everything. So the so-called understanding of policies alone are not enough. We also probably need to understand the forest ecosystems, how important they are. There are a lot of targets set for plantation. We understand that plantation is no substitute for a natural forest. Mixed forests are the best because they can conserve soil, they can protect soil, they can control erosion, etc. But plantation could be the second method. Now everywhere people talk of agroforestry. Agroforestry in farmlands, as youngsters, college students should know that agroforestry is a very big potential, because we say that in India 23% of the land area is in forest. We want to make it to 33%. The problem is that we don't have enough land for afforestation. So what becomes primarily important is planting up anywhere possible. Planting up in homesteads, schools, college grounds, everywhere should be brought under some tree, so that you have canopy, you have tree architecture to protect the so-called rain, little rain that is received. The slogan is that every drop of water has to be caught where it has to be caught where it fell. Whatever water got in the farmland has to be used for farmland. Whatever land has fell in your house has to be used for you. That's how we used to have all the wells, etc. Now everything is drying. I remember days when I joined the forest department, women used to go 10 kilometers, 11 kilometers into the forest areas or fringes of forest with the pot of water, to just bring a pot of water or 30 kilos of firewood, because then they'll have to come back to the village and sell the firewood and make that day's money, then cook the food, and they need water for cooking, and then send the children to school. So right at 4 o'clock in the morning, we used to find hundreds of women going to the forest. All the scenarios have changed today because of economic development. There is household gas connections, there is pipe connections, etc. But what really is happening is people have forgotten the source, the mother earth from which this water and the resources are coming. And this is very important for us to understand the vulnerabilities, the security loss due to water non-availability. So I feel that as students, we'll have to ensure that we all support good afforestation program, we support good restoration programs. One of the biggest challenges in India or world over is restoring natural ecosystems, may it be ponds. I understand Palakkad and Thrissur areas were all areas full of ponds, but where have all ponds gone today? So we have to ensure that any school or a college should take up not only children's forestry program in the school and colleges, but you should also adopt a pond, you should adopt a lake, you should also support river restoration work, river reclamation work, river rejuvenation work. These are all things as college students which small associations can do and enable government to do better. As rightly said, this country is definitely going to have water crisis. We already have transboundary water problems. The UNESCO's report says that out of the 193 countries, 153 countries do have some sort of water agreement, transboundary agreement, of which at least 23 countries to 24 countries have very strong water agreements, and they are able to sustain these agreements and live smoothly. But otherwise, the war is going to happen for water was told 2 decades before, and that's really happening before our eyes. The way we find war crisis at the local level, war crisis at the not just the global level, regional level, district level, state level. So this is going on actually. What is more important is looking for the source and trying to protect the water at the source, and ensuring that we have our upstreams are taken care of. There are good forest cover both in the hills and the plains. In the health of the hills lies the wealth of the plains. That's the saying. In the health of the hills lies the wealth of the plains. So if you have a healthy ecosystem, hill ecosystem, then naturally you're going to have a healthy plain ecosystem. So all this is centered around one word called as water. If there is no water, there is no food. If there is no food, there is no livelihood. There is no security of any nature. There will only be more crisis. So it's not just enough that we have more policies, but what is really required is self-control on the use of water. Today I find everywhere people keep talking about aerators, trying to control water. There are also demonstrations. But let me tell you, young friends, what is coming up in WhatsApp could be truth and reality. My grandfather saw rivers, my parents saw lakes and ponds. We started using waters in water bottles, and what your children is definitely going to get is only water bubbles and tears and drops is what the WhatsApp says, which there is tremendous truth in all this, because the way crisis is happening, we are going to really fight for water. So most important is the idea of UN to sensitize us on such days. It's just not enough that we only think about water on this day. Action every day is important for us, and I only wish to tell you that forest is a fundamental source. Where forests have declined in quality, in quantity, in terms of its nature, in terms of its feature, water has suffered a lot. So we should primarily look at the source, problem source called the forest, start looking at good healthy forest ecosystems and see how best we can restore them. If all of us join together, ensuring 33% of land area and a forest is not a difficult task. The only problem is who will do it, why we do it, and what do we get for doing. If all these questions, if you start asking, I think there's no solution. But what should come is, I should do it because this is my country. As rightly said, belongingness becomes more important. Ownership becomes more important. Water is yours, the land is yours, the community is yours, the forests are yours. That is something very important for the younger generations to hold up. We are not just trying to pass on the baton to you and give you the responsibility to say, you take over all the problems that we created. What we are trying to tell you is, we will also join you and let's work together to make this country and the world a better place to live with enough water like our forefathers lived. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We invite Dr. Sina P., Professor and Head, Department of Civil Engineering, Government Engineering College, Thrissur, for the felicitation.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Sajeev sir, Dr. Harinarayan sir, Dr. Sudheer sir, Dr. Krishnan sir, and distinguished Professor Sumit Sen sir, esteemed organizers of this program, and dedicated participants, good morning to all. It is utmost honor and privilege to address all of you today. I am filled with a sense of excitement for what we can achieve by working hand in hand. First of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to organizers of this event for the effort they have taken for arranging this World Day program. To educate the importance of water conservation and its sustainable management through this program is highly appreciated. To achieve this, the effort taken by organizers KSCSTE-KFRI and GEC Thrissur are truly commendable. By coming together to celebrate the World Water Day, we have not only highlighted the significance of water in our lives, but also showcased the commitment to working towards a more sustainable future for all. The various activities, discussions and initiatives that will be undertaken in this program will contribute to raising awareness and promoting a positive change in our communities. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.